All right, guys, good morning. I hope all of you are well today. I am going to be just kind of going through what we're going to be reading in class today. With Oedipus Rex, it's not an easy read necessarily on your own. You are welcome to always read on your own if you think you can handle it. But I just wanted to give you just a really quick overview of the few hundred lines we read today in class. We're going to start on line 217. So if you want to, you can head all the way down to page 7. We skip quite a bit due to the fact that I typically omit chorus parts to keep this unit pretty short. Other versions of this would include it, but we're going to omit them today. And where we left off last time was that Oedipus was informed that he needs to remove whoever killed the man who was the king before him, because that man was murdered, that he needs to figure out who that is. And then if he can do that, he'll be lucky. And if they banish that person or murder or kill him as well, it will eliminate basically this plague that is driving their women to have only stillborn children, that none of the livestock is staying alive, and things like that. And so Oedipus starts to address the people of his town, Thebes, and explains to them kind of what he wants from them. All right, so that's where we're going to start off. It says, enter Oedipus from the palace. And Oedipus says, you pray it as well, but will you hear my words and heed them and apply the remedy? You might perchance find comfort and relief, mind you. I speak as one who comes a stranger to this report no less than to the crime. For how, unaided, could I track it far without a clue? Only citizens I have enrolled only afterwards was I enrolled a citizen of Thebes. This proclamation I address to all. Okay, and if you remember anything about any of the work that I had you guys do in advance, this information right here, this idea of him only being a Theban citizen after he had slain the Sphinx, is incorrect. Because at the end of the day, Oedipus was born in Thebes. He was adopted by someone outside of Thebes, and he does not know he is adopted, but he was adopted. So he's actually from this town. He is not a stranger. He is very much a native Theban. And so he says, Thebans, if anyone knows that by the man by whom Laius, son of Labdacus, was slain, I summon him and declare everything to me. And if he said he is afraid, let him reflect that thus, confessing he shall escape the death penalty. So he's like, if whoever did this tells me that they did it, I won't kill them. Okay? For the worst that shall befall him is banishment. He'll just exile them from the town. Unscathed he shall depart. But if an alien from a foreign land be known to any of you as the murderer, let him who knows speak out, and he shall have due recompense from me, and thanks as well. But if you keep silence, if through fear for self or friends, disregard my request, hear what I resolve. I banish that man, whosoever he may be. Let no man in this land where I hold that sovereign will harbor or speak him, give him no part in prayer or sacrifice or worship the gods, but hound him from your homes. For our delay is sinful, so by the God has lately shown me to the oracle. All right, so he's like, you need to tell me, if you know who did this, you need to tell me. And if you don't tell me, but other people find out that you know, then I ask that you basically treat them as though they are banished, even though they are not. Okay? And then he says, thus, as I, their champion, maintain the cause, both of the god and of the murdered king, and on the murderer this curse I lay, and on all the partners in this guilt, in his guilt. Wretch may he pine in utter misery. And for myself, if with my consent he gain admittance to my hearth, I pray this curse I lay on others fall on me. See that you carry out my command, for the sake in God's, for our land, a desert blasted by the wrath of heaven. For let alone the gods express a command, it is a scandal that should leave unpunished the murder of the great man and your king, nor track it home. And now that I am Lord, successor to his throne, his wife, and his bed, once again, Oedipus does not know that he is from here, and that Laius, the guy that was the king before he got there, is definitely his dad. And he is definitely married to his mother. For heirs common, children of one womb, that womb also had him. He had forced a closer bond between him and me, but fate came down upon him, and therefore his blood avenger will maintain his cause as though he were my father. Once again, the beauty of this entire story is this concept of irony. And Oedipus here says he's going to take up the charge to find out who the murderer is, as though Laius were his own father. But little does he know that Laius is in fact his own father. As though he were my father, leave no stone unturned to track the assassin or avenge the son of Labdacus, who is Laius. And for those who disobey my order, I pray, may the gods send them neither timely fruits of earth nor teeming increase of the womb, and that they may increase and pine how they waste. Okay, and so he lays this curse on them. He's like, well, I hope whoever this happens to, that they continue to deal with, stillborn children and all these things. Nice guy, right? And then the chorus says, the oath you prescribed, king, I take and swear I did not kill Laius myself, nor can I name the murderer. For the quest, I think that Phoebus, who proposed the riddle himself, should give the answer, who the murderer was. And Oedipus goes, well, that is well argued, but no living man can hope to force the gods to speak against their will. And the chorus says, may I say then what seems next best to me? And Oedipus says, yes, and if there be a third best, tell it too. My lord, if any man sees eye to eye with our god Phoebus, it's our prophet, Tiresias. He of all men must guide a searcher of this matter to the light. So Tiresias is the blind seer, which we talked about a couple times this week. And Oedipus says, here too my zeal has nothing lagged, for twice at Creon's urging I have sent to fetch him, and I begin to wonder why he is not here. So Oedipus is sent for Tiresias to hopefully have him tell Oedipus who hurt the prior king. He's thinking maybe Tiresias just knows, and he doesn't have to even do any searching. So I heard it was said that Laius was killed by travelers, says the chorus. So I heard, but no one has ever seen the man who saw it. And the chorus says, well, if he knows what fear is, he will cower and flee before the terror of your curse. Words do not scare one who does not hesitate to not add deeds. And the chorus says, but here is a man to denounce him. Look, they bring the God-inspired seer, for whom above all other men the truth is known. Okay, so the Tiresias, the blind seer, has now shown up. One of the big concepts that you need to be aware of is this concept of sight within this play. You have a blind man who can see the future, who can predict it, and then you have a man who can see, Oedipus, who is blind to what he has done. Enter Tiresias, led by a boy. Oedipus says, Tiresias, seer who comprehends all, master of the wise and hidden mysteries, high things of heaven and low things of earth, you know that your blinded eye cannot see what plague infects our city. And we turn to you, O seer, our one defense and shield, the content of the answer of the god, return to us who sought his oracle. The messengers have doubtless told you now how one course alone could rid us of the pest, to find the murderers of Laius and slay them or expel them from this land. Therefore, begrudging neither clairvoyance nor another divination that is your power, save yourself, your country, and your king. Save us all from this defilement of bloodshed. We depend on you. This is the man's highest end. To the other service we shall lend. Okay, so as is with all things, a lot of times people ask for favors, which is what Oedipus is doing here. He kind of flatters him first. He's like, oh, the man, the great seer. He's like, tell me who murdered the prior king. And Tiresias is going to respond in a way that Oedipus does not expect. Tiresias says, alas, alas, what misery it is to be wise when wisdom profits nothing. This old story I had forgotten. I shouldn't have come here. Okay, so he literally shows up and he's like, I shouldn't be here. Oedipus says, what ails you? Why this melancholy mood? And Tiresias says, let me go home. Prevent me not. It's best for you to bear your burden and I mine. All right. And so Tiresias is like, I really don't want to talk about this. Just let me go home. And you can bear whatever you're dealing with and I'll bear mine and we'll just be done. Okay. Oedipus says, for shame, no true-born Theban patriot would thus withhold the word of prophecy. He's like, how dare you not tell me? And Tiresias says, your words, O king, are ill-spoken, and I fear that I too may err as well. And Oedipus says, oh, speak, I implore you. If you know anything, share your knowledge. We are all begging you. And Tiresias says, yes, for you are all foolish, but my voice will never reveal my miseries or yours. I don't know about you, but if anybody's ever come up to me and been like, I have a secret, but I can't tell you the secret, I always have to laugh, because doesn't that just make you want to know the secret more? And that's what's happening to Oedipus here. Tiresias implies that he knows something, but he won't tell anyone. And so Oedipus continues to get more and more upset. He's like, you know something, tell me what you know. And so, what then you know and yet will not speak? Would you betray us and destroy your people? I will not vex myself nor you. Why ask thus idly from me? You shall not learn. All right, we skip a bunch. And then it says, and then so Oedipus is now, he's a man of short temper, so he's going to lose his temper very quickly here. And so Oedipus says, monster, your silence with incense or anger, a rock. Will nothing loose your tongue? Can nothing melt you or shake the stubborn silence? Tiresias says, you blame my mood and see not your own, which overcomes you. No, you're bothering me. Oedipus says, and who could control his temper when he heard how insolently you flout the state? And so Oedipus is like, no wonder I'm mad. You know something and you're not telling us. And Tiresias says, well, it will come that I will, though I be mute. Oedipus says, since it must come, your duty is to tell me. And Tiresias says, I have no more to say. Storm as much as you want and give up free rein to all your pent-up rage. Tiresias is all like, be mad if you want, sir, but I'm still not going to tell you. And Oedipus says, yes, I am angry and will not hold my hands, but speak my mind whole. I think you're the one who planned the crime and performed it too, all save the assassination. And if you were not blind, I would swear you alone did the deed. So Oedipus totally turns on Tiresias here. He's like, you know what? I want you to know, I think you killed the king. Well, at least you had a hand in it because you're blind. So it would be really hard for you to kill a man that you can't see, not in this town. All right, and Oedipus so he totally accuses Tiresias of having a hand in this murder. And Tiresias says, is that so? That I charge you to submit your own proclamation. From this day, speak not to me or these. You are the man, the accursed polluter of this land. And so Tiresias totally turns it around and tells Oedipus, no, you murdered the prior king. All right. And Oedipus doesn't like that. He doesn't believe it and he doesn't like it. It's true, but he doesn't believe it and doesn't like it. He says, vile slanderer, you blurt these taunts and think as a seer you will go free. And Tiresias says, yes, I am free, secure in the strength of the truth. He's like, it is true. Oedipus says, who is your teacher? Not your own expertise, of course. And Tiresias, you bullying me against my will. You bullying me against my will to speak. So Tiresias is like, I didn't want to tell you, but you made me. Okay. Oedipus says, what speech? Repeat it and resolve my doubt. Tiresias is like, did you miss my words? Would you force me on? Well, Oedipus is like, I only caught half your meaning. Say it again. Tiresias says, I say that you are the murderer of the man whose killer you pursue. You will regret twice uttering so gross a lie. It is true, by the way. Oedipus totally killed Laius. How he manages to forget that he killed another person is wild to me, but he did. And then Tiresias says, must I say more to aggravate your rage? And Oedipus says, say all you want. It will be but a waste of breath. I say you live with your nearest kin in infamy, ignorance, and ignorant of your shame. Do you think it's so safe to wag your tongue? And Tiresias says, yes, if the truth of light can never prevail. Oedipus says, for other men, but not for you. For you, in ear, wit, eye, and everything are blind. Okay, so Oedipus is like, you are so blind, you are totally off base. There's no way I could have killed my own father, and there's nothing I've done that's gross, which is, once again, inaccurate. He is married to his own mother and has had children with her. Tiresias says, poor fool, to utter insults at me, which are here will be cast back on you before long. And Oedipus says, offspring of endless night, you have no power over me or any man who actually sees the sun. I always like this back and forth because it's a lot of like shade throwing. And Tiresias says, no, for your fate is not to fall by me. I leave that to Apollo the concerns of the god. Is this a plot of Crayon or your own? Not Crayon, you are your own misfortune. All right, so Tiresias says, you are to blame for this problem. And Oedipus is like, okay, maybe you have some sort of hand in this with Crayon and you didn't tell me, or I didn't know until now, but maybe Crayon wants to overthrow me to be king, okay? And so Oedipus says, oh, wealth and power and victorious skill proven in the battlefield, what spite and envy following your turn. See, for this crown the state conferred on me, a gift, a thing I sought not for. So Oedipus says he never wanted to be king of Thebes, but that's what happened. The trusty Crayon, my familiar friend, has lain in wait to oust me and suborned this charlatan, this juggling impostor, this phony beggar priest for money alone. Keen-eyed, but in his proper art, stone blind. Say, villain, have you ever proved yourself a prophet? When the riddling Sphinx was here, why, you had no evidence, you had no deliverance for the people, and yet the riddle was not to be solved by guesswork, but required the prophet's art, which you were found to lack. Okay, so Oedipus brings up the fact that he defeated the Sphinx yet again here. He's like, well, if you want to talk all this crap about me and about how you can definitely fulfill prophecy, I want you to remember that the fact that I am the one who defeated the Sphinx, not you. All right, he's like, I, simple Oedipus, managed to do this, not you. Okay, by guesswork, but required the prophet's art, which you were found to lack. Neither birds nor sign from heaven helped you, but I came, the simple Oedipus. I stopped her mouth by natural wit, untaught of auguries. This is the man whom you would undermine. In this hope to reign with Crayon in my stead, I think you and your ally will soon repent your plot and drive the scapegoat out. Thank your gray hairs that you do not feel the punishment such arrogance deserves. Okay, and so once again he brings up this idea of Crayon wanting to be king, and so he and this guy must have gotten together and plotted it, him and Tiresias, Crayon and Tiresias. And then the chorus says, to us it seems that both the seer and you, O Oedipus, have spoken angry words, but there is no time to quarrel. Consider how we must best fulfill the oracle. And now Tiresias is kind of just 800% done here. He is tired of being picked on for being blind. He's tired of listening to this guy talk. And so, no lie, he's going to totally like just go off, okay? And so Tiresias says, King, though you are free speech, though you are, free speech is mine, is at least mine to make reply. In this I am your peer. I obey no lord but Loxias, Apollo. Him I serve, and never stand acknowledged as Creon's man. Thus, then I answer, since you are not refrained from mocking my blindness, you who have eyes, yet see not into what misery you have fallen, nor where you live, nor with whom you mate. Okay, so he's like, you don't. That's one of the really overarching themes themes or motifs that's going to come up quite often here, is this concept of a man who is blind but cannot see, and a man who can see but is blind to what he's done. And so the seer is pointing that out yet again, that Oedipus is blind to what he's done. And if he would just basically put his eyes back on and listen, he would realize what he has done truly and how bad it really is. All right. Nor where you live with or with whom you mate. He doesn't understand who he's mated with, which is his own mother. Do you know who your parents are? No, you do not. Remember, Oedipus is adopted. He may not necessarily know he's adopted, but he's definitely adopted. And all unaware are a double enemy. To your own kin, the living and the dead, the stubborn curse of mother and father, this day shall drive you like a two-edged sword beyond our borders, and the eyes that now see clear shall henceforth hold endless night. Ah, where shall your bitter cry not reach? What cliff in Cithaeron shall not then echo your wail when you have found out that with your wedding song you were carried home? Okay, once again, hinting at the fact that he is married to his own mother, that he is a native Theban, but to no fair haven on that night. And flood of ills you do not imagine, shall set up you and your children in one line. Flout them both, Creon and my words, for none of your mortals shall be doomed worse than you. All right, so because Oedipus is both brother and father to his own children, their family tree is basically one line instead of like the multiple branches. Oedipus says, must I endure this fellow's insolence? A plague on you, go away, be gone, and never cross my threshold more. Tiresias fires back, I didn't even want to be here, basically. I've never come had you not summoned me. Oedipus says, if I had known you would speak such silliness or folly, you would have waited a long time to be invited here. And then Tiresias says, such as I am, it seems a fool, but to your parents who begat you, they found me wise. So Oedipus found out towards the end of his time where he was raised that he is in fact adopted, and so he's on the hunt for his parents. And Oedipus says, what are you saying? Who are my parents? And Tiresias says, this day shall give you your parents and your ruin. You love to speak riddles and dark words. In solving riddles, who is more skilled than you? So Tiresias here totally throws the fact that Oedipus was able to solve the Sphinx's riddle back in his face. He's like, you thought you were so much better than me? You don't even know who your parents are. Oedipus says, mock me with my greatness, and yet the greatness proved your curse, okay? And then Oedipus says, no matter if I save the Commonwealth, it is time that I left you. Come, boy, take me home. Yes, take him quickly, for his presence irks me. Go where you cannot plague me more, all right? And Tiresias is going to leave us with the final thought and the first true reveal of the prophecy to Oedipus specifically. He says, I go, but first I tell you why I came. Your frown I dread not, but for you cannot harm me. Hear them. This man whom you want to arrest with threats and warrants this long while, the wretch who murdered Laius, that man is here. Okay, he's like, you killed Laius. That man is here. It is you. He passes for an alien of this land because Oedipus doesn't realize he's from Thebes, but soon shall prove a native Theban born because Oedipus was born to Laius and Jocasta. He would technically be from Thebes. And yet his fortune brings him little joy. Blind though he can see, dressed in beggar's clothes, no purple robes and leaning on staff, to a strange land he shall soon grope his way. So he's implying here that basically this idea of Oedipus will go blind by the end of the play. He will lose his sight. All right. And then he shall grope his way, and of his children who live at his home he shall be proved brother and father of his mother who bore him, son and husband both. So he will be both brother and father to his own kids, and son and husband to his own mother. Go in and ponder this, and if you find that I have missed the mark, henceforth declare I have no wit and skill or prophecy. And that's where we're going to end it. So Oedipus has now been given kind of this task of trying to figure out if this prophecy is true, and that's where we're going to head into next week. So have a great day, guys, and I'll see you later.